Hey everyone, today we are going to do the differentiation of rate of change and also maxima minima. Well, basically this is the two main applications of differentiation that you're going to learn in Sec 4A Maths. It could be quite tough, especially for the rate of change, and I also find that at school this is not so much covered with enough amount of time. Okay, and in my opinion is one of the most difficult chapter for application. Okay, so let's just find out the majority of the what you need to do to actually approach the question, and we are going to also discuss about the maxima and minima. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so what is a rate of change? Now, before we answer this question, okay, I want to come back about differentiation first. Okay, now differentiation in the previous chapters, okay, I believe that you have differentiated a lot of the equations of x and y. For example, the y equals x squared. If you differentiate this, you're gonna get dy dx equals to x. Okay, I don't think that would be a trouble for you by now. Alright, but then what if you actually change the variable a little bit? A equals to pi r squared. Now, in this case, right, I like to see that a is actually a variable, and likewise, the r square is also another variable, whereas the pi is actually just a constant number. Okay, remember that pi, even though it looks like a symbol, it's ultimately just a constant number. Okay, if I have to differentiate this, then what would it look like? Okay, now if you look at how I actually deal with the y and x square, I have a dy over dx. Dy on the top because it was actually the subject. Okay, or in this case, it's actually a, meaning to say I need to put the a on the top. Alright, and then the other variable on the right hand side is x. In this case is r, which is the radius. Okay, yeah, I think you should notice that this is actually the area of circle. Alright, so then when you differentiate this, you should put dA over dr. Okay, and you do the same thing, just like as if that r is actually your x. So then you take the power down, then you put down pi and then r. Okay, the r will be r power of 1, obviously. Okay, and therefore this is our dA dr equals to 2 pi r. Now what is rate of change then, basically? Now rate of change is actually speaking about what we are actually changing over time. Okay, if you take a note about the word itself, rate. Okay, rate is actually changes of something with respect to time. Time is actually the main subject in this subject. Okay, that sounds so weird, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. What we are actually focusing at is about time. Rate of change can apply to many conditions. Let's just imagine about this. We are actually have a jug. Okay, we are putting some water inside it, and you can say that the volume of the jug of the water is going to increase every single second that you pour your water in. Okay, let's just say that I have a formula to find the volume. Volume of the water, okay, is equal to 3 times by t square, where t is actually time, v is actually volume. Okay, so when I differentiate this, just like how I differentiate the a and pi r square, okay, I can say that a is the subject. In this case, v is the subject. Okay, whereas the other variable is t. Therefore, I need to put dv over dt. Then the result will be 3 times by 2 multiplied by t power of 1. That is 6 of t. Okay, so you see that the expression of dv dt equals to 6t. Okay, this is actually our rate of change. Okay, now the keyword is that you have a denominator that is expressed as dt. Okay, anytime you see the expression of differentiation that has a dt on the denominator, that means you just got a rate of change. Rate of change of what? Well, take a look at the numerator. The numerator is a v, dv. So this is the rate of change of the volume of the water inside the jug. Okay, or whatever container you are having. Okay, this is a simple example of how rate of change is actually written as. Alright, so again, the bottom line is rate of change is always dv over dt, or maybe like dA over dt, where A is area. Okay, therefore, it's just a change of something with respect to time. Okay, now, what are the formulas over here? Oh, there's actually like I think there's some error about the GIF. Okay, but let's just ignore it. Okay, there's only one formula to get this chapter around. Okay, I can write it down like this: dv over dt equals to dv over something multiplied by something over dt. Okay, now you see the two blanks that I actually leave alone are actually going to be something that is equal. Okay, for example, maybe r being a radius, dv over dr equals to dr multiplied by dr over dt. Okay, now the concept of this formula is that you are able to cancel the dr, and you will see that I'll get dv over dt, just like the left hand side. dv over dt equals to dv over dt. Okay, but that's just the concept. I'm not literally going to cancel them. Okay, this is the formula that you are going to make every time the question is about rate of change. Okay, of course it doesn't have to be exactly like this. You have to adjust with the condition that you are being asked. Okay, now let's start with this picture. Okay, I mean, you might be wondering what am I actually putting here. Someone blowing a balloon with their nose. I would say it's actually quite awesome. I don't have any other word for that. But anyway, let's take a look. A spherical balloon is expanding at a rate of 2 cm³ per second. Now pay attention to the word rate. Okay, and also the unit they're giving you, cm³ per second. Okay, now what we are having here is actually the rate of change of the volume. Okay, how do I know it's volume? Well, I know that they are talking about a spherical balloon. Okay, and if you are talking about a sphere, two formulas that should come to your mind: volume or surface area of a sphere. Now, more interestingly though, they are actually interested in the volume, cm³. Okay, that's the giveaway. The unit is a cm³. So right, what is these two actually in this question? This actually tells you the rate of change of the volume, dv over dt. Okay, because cm³ is volume, s is actually second. So that is a time. dv over dt equals 2. Okay, that's the first piece of the information I got from the first sentence. Okay, second information I can gather is v equals 4/3 pi r³. Well, I know what you are thinking. This is the volume formula for a sphere. Okay, I know that the question didn't actually tell you about this formula directly. Okay, but okay, let me tell you that in the story question of rate of change, sometimes they don't give you the formula right away. You might have to figure it out yourself. Okay, the common formula they will actually ask you to think about would be about volume or surface area formula. It can be a sphere, can be a cylinder, can be a cone. Alright, yeah, but I choose the volume for a sphere again because I already have the idea that they are interested in the volume of the spherical balloon. And next, find the rate of increase of the radius when the r is actually 6. Okay, r equals to 6. Now, this is very, very important. 3 pieces of information. I would say that in a rate of change of question, around 90%, 80% of the question, okay, will start with these 3 pieces of information. These 3 pieces of information will help you along the way. Okay, so whenever you are doing a rate of change question, try to gather informations. Okay, usually there are 3 information: a rate of change of something, a formula of something, and then a value of something. Okay, so in this case, this is the 3 info that we have gathered so far. Alright, now on to the question. The question asks you to find out the rate of increase of the radius. Okay, this means I need to solve for dr over dt. Okay, now how to solve this question? I'm going to use the formula that I introduced to you earlier. Okay, this formula that I circled. How do I actually make the formula over here? Now, if I want to make the formula directly, okay, I just need to make sure that I have a dr on the top and then I have a dt on the bottom on 2 separate fractions that are being multiplied. Okay, then there's actually a missing piece that I need to fill in, the 2 gaps that theoretically can be cancelled, and that value will be dv and dv. Now, why do I put dv among everything else? Very simple information, the dv over dt that I gathered earlier. Okay, this is just a clue that I need to use dv in my equation. Okay, so yeah, that's how the formula actually comes into place. Okay, but there is a slight problem with this formula. I'll let you know in a few seconds. Okay, but for now, you can say that dv dt is actually found to be 2 units. Okay, so I can tell that dv dt equals 2. I can substitute immediately. Okay, whereas dr over dv is actually not found yet. I have no idea what is dr over dv. That is where the second information is going to be useful. You see here, every time you have an equation in a rate of change, the purpose of that equation is only one, to be differentiated. I mean, come on, this is the application of differentiation. Certainly there will be some differentiation, am I right? So let's differentiate this. I got dv dr, okay? Just like how I actually teach you earlier, the variable is v and r, okay? And v is the subject, so I need to put dv over dr equals to 4 over 3 multiplied by 3 pi r square. Okay, cancel, I'll get 4 pi r square. That is dv dr. Okay, now the question is actually asking you what is dr over dv, not a dv over dr. Now, okay, if you are feeling lazy, okay, basically you just put it down that dr dv is actually 1 over 4 pi r square. Okay, but theoretically you shouldn't do that. Okay, this poses a lot of problem and most likely you are going to lose some marks. Okay, so don't do this. Okay, then how do we actually approach this question? Okay, I mean, I need to get dr over dv, but I only have dv over dr. Okay, so once you actually have this value of dv over dr, okay, this means that I cannot use the formula that I've written over here right away. This is not allowed. Okay, I'll have to get another option to write down the formula. Okay, so maybe using these three fractions, right, I'm going to rearrange them. How about getting the dv dt as the subject? Okay, that means to say I just put dv and then dt here, and then the rest I just put dr and then dr. Okay, now I would say that this time this actually works because I have the dv dr. Dv dr is here. Okay, I also have the dv dt, 2 units. Okay, and the position is just nice. I don't need to have the flip like dr over dv on the previous method. Okay, so since this expression actually works much better, I'll use this. dv dt is 2 units, substitute. dv dr is 4 pi r square, substitute. And then dr dt is over there. Okay, again, don't forget the question is asking you to find the rate of change of the radius. You are looking dr dt. Okay, meaning to say I need to make the dr dt as the subject. So I just need to divide the number away. Okay, yeah. Now remember that your final answer, okay, always has to be constant. Okay, cannot have an r. R is a variable, so this is not acceptable. Okay, this is where the last piece of information is actually going to be helpful. R equals 6. Okay, this number exists so that you can actually substitute into the final expression. Okay, yeah, so then I got dr over dt equals 2 over 4 pi multiplied by 6 power of 2. Alright, simplify this and you'll get the answer. Yeah, that's the answer. Okay, so what is this number actually basically telling you about? Okay, very simple. Now imagine this. Okay, this is actually the reason I put this balloon picture here lah. Okay, you can see that the radius of the balloon is increasing as long as you inhale some air. I mean, not inhale, exhale some air into the balloon. Okay, the balloons actually keeps increasing. Okay, the volume increases, the radius increases, the surface area also increases, a lot of things increases. Okay, but does that mean that the units increase is the same? What I mean is this, the volume increase is 2 cm cube. Okay, cool. Then people think that, oh, volume is, in terms of ratio, is actually like cubic of the length. Okay, then people think, oh, radius is actually like the cm, volume is the cm cube. Does that mean that the rate of radius increase is just cube root of 2? The answer is no. Okay, the rate of change of the radius actually depends on the situation. When the r is actually 6, okay, I got the radius, increase of the radius to be this number, 1 over 72 pi. When the radius is different, let's say when the r equals to 1, okay, the dr dt will be 1 over 2 pi, okay, which I would say that is actually quite bigger. Okay, the rate of increase of the radius is actually quite bigger compared to the 1 over 72 pi. Yeah. Now, you can see here the rate of change actually different for every different scenario. Okay, when r equals 1 and when r equals 6, they just give you a different value. Alright, so it is not consistent, it's not constant, it is always changing, remember that. Alright, so yeah, that's why knowing what is the value that you need to check your rate of change is very important. The 3 pieces of information that are written here is the, well, building blocks to actually finalize the answer. Okay, let's try some example here. Okay, I have a cylinder expanding at the formula of this, and then I need to find the rate of change of the volume when the time is actually 4. Alright, I have dv over dt. I'm going to differentiate this. Oh, but before that, I think I rather to put it down as t squared plus 1 bracket power of negative 1. So when I do differentiation here, I just need to do chain rule. Negative 1 comes down, repeat the bracket, and then multiply by 2t. Okay, that will be negative 2t over t squared plus 1 power of 2. Okay, that's the dv dt. Now, find the rate of change of the volume when time is actually 4 seconds. Okay, so I just put down 4 inside. Okay, so you see that in this question, there is no need to actually build up like the previous example that I showed you, you know, getting the 3 information and whatsoever. Because in the beginning, we already have an equation connecting our volume and time. And therefore, when you differentiate it, you're going to get dv dt immediately. And the question itself is asking you to find the rate of the volume. That is, the question asks you to find dv dt. Meaning to say it's quite instant. You just need to solve the differentiation and then substitute the number. Okay? Very nice. Yeah, then you just need to simplify this answer. Should be good enough. Alright? Next question. Liquid is poured into a container at the rate of 12 cm cube per second. So this is the rate, this is a cm cube. So I can tell that dv dt equals to 12. The volume of the liquid is given to be, well, those figure. I'll just expand it into these numbers. Okay, the second piece of information, and the third piece of information is v equals 16. Okay, the question is asking you to find out the rate at which the height is increasing. Alright, now let's start. Okay, this 3 pieces of information is gonna be useful. Okay, remember, anytime the question give you an equation, the only purpose is to differentiate it. Okay, that's our dvdh. Okay, it will be useful. Then the question also asking you to find the rate of change of h. So I just put dh over dt equals to this. Now the 2 blank space is confirmed to be dv and dv. Okay, because we have the dv dt here. Okay, but you see that the information that we got on the second information here, the differentiation I got is dv dh, not dh dv. Meaning to say, we need to rearrange them to something that actually works. Okay, maybe I'll make the dv dt to be the subject instead. Like this. Okay, then I'll just put the dh and dh. Okay, let's see whether it works right now. I have dv dt, works well. I have dv dh, works well. I want the dh dt, well, also works. Okay, so let's put the number in. dv dt being 12 units, dv dh being h plus 2, and dh dt is what we want to find out. Okay, I'll divide the number away, so then dh dt is 12 over h plus 2. Okay, now the only thing that we need to do is to find the value of h, and basically you are done. You got the value of dh dt. Okay, but well, if you look at the information that I got here, this is v equals 16, not h. Okay, now don't panic. Okay, this number is gonna be the key to find out the value of v. Okay, so you see here, okay, if I have v equals 16, right, I can input to the equation that I got. Meaning to say I got 16 equals to h squared over 2 plus by 2h. Okay, then you can see that this is actually like some kind of equation to solve your h. Yeah, so let's try. Multiply everything by 2. And then putting them on the same side. And then I just need to do cross factorization. I'll get, can I do this in 32 is 8 times 4. Okay, but yes, that actually works. This will be h plus 8 and h minus 4. Yeah. Okay, so two answers, either a negative 8 or a positive 4. Obviously, height cannot be negative, so I will use the 4. Sub the number in, and I'll get the dh dt. See, it's not that difficult if you know the flow of the question. Okay, yeah. Alright, let's continue. Okay, I still have two more questions. A viscous liquid is poured into a flat surface such that it forms a circular patch. Okay, so you can see that this is a cm square and it is growing at a steady rate. Okay, so then I have a dA dt as 8 units. Next, find the radius of the patch 25 seconds after pouring. Okay, they want the radius after 25 seconds of pouring. Alright, you see here, they also mention about it being steady rate. Okay, what do they mean by steady rate? Well, that means to say that the area is increasing consistently 8 cm square every single second. And since 25 seconds has grown, okay, the area at that moment should be 25 multiply 8. Okay, which is equals to 200 cm square. Okay, since we are talking about the circular patch area, the area is 200 equals to pi r square, which means that you can find the radius. Well, radius square is 200 over pi, and therefore r is root of them. Okay, just use calculator, put it in 3SF. Alright. The rate of increase of the radius at this instant. Okay, this instance is actually referring to the value of r. Okay, like that. And also we have the information of dA dt. Okay, remember the three pieces of information. We already gathered the two of them. I highlighted them. The last piece is the formula. And since we are talking about area of circle, I would like to use A equals pi r square. Differentiate this, I got dA over dr. Okay, so this is the three pieces of information to solve this question. They want the rate of increase of the radius. So dr dt equals to this. Okay, I'm going to fill in dA. But you see, I have dA dr but not dr dA. So I'm going to use another combination. I'll use the dA dt as the subject. Like this. Then put dr, put dr. Okay, this works just fine. dA dt is 8 units, dA dr is 2 pi r, dr dt is the subject. Okay, so then dr dt will be 8 divided by 2 pi r, that is a 4 over pi r. Okay, and then don't forget to input the number here. So then further ahead, you actually can just key in calculator 4 divided by pi multiplied by square root of this. Okay, yeah. The question didn't say anything about, oh, in terms of pi. Okay, that's actually means that we need to do a little bit of simplification. Okay, what will it be? I'm running out of space. 4 over, okay, pi divided by root pi multiplied by root 200. I can actually cancel these two. Okay, leaving me with a square root of pi. Okay, hence I'll get 4 over square root of 200 pi. Alright. Next question. The values of x and y are related by this equation. X increased by the rate of 0.5. So dx dt is half. Okay. Well, the equation they give me is y x squared equals 24. I like to make the y to be the subject. Like this. Okay. Or that is 24x negative 2. I differentiate this, I'll get dy dx as negative 48x negative 3. Or you know what, just put a fraction. Okay, looks better. Okay, so the rule, 3 pieces of information. 1, 2, 3. Okay, find the rate of change of y. So I want a dy dt. So then I'll just get dy and then dt, put down dx, put down dx. I have dy dx already, nice. I have dx dt already, nice. So I just need to solve this lah. Okay, dy dx is negative 48 over x cubed. And then dx dt is half. And remember that x is actually 4. And you just need to simplify this. Okay, I'll leave it to you. The next question, when y is actually 6, you still need to find the rate of change of y. Okay, meaning to say that I still have to use exactly the same expression here lah. Right, I just need to solve this. But this time I cannot tell what is the value of the x because they give me y equals 6 instead. Okay, not an issue because you have the equation of x and y as this. X squared y equals 24. Sub in the y equals 6. So then I'll get 4 over here. Now, that means I'll get two values of x. Plus minus 2. Okay, yeah, in that case I'll also have two different answer for my dy dt. Negative 48 divided by 2 power of 3, which is 8. Yeah, then you can solve it. Or negative 48 divided by negative 8. And then you just need to solve this. Yeah, okay, so there are two answers for this question. Okay, I mean they just give you two answers, so be it lah. Yeah, just need to split the answers together. Alright, let's continue on to maxima and minima now. Okay, actually there is also inflection. Okay, so I'll call it maxima, minima, and inflection. Okay, so let's take a look at this graph. Okay, this is just a graph y equals to 3x5 minus 15x cubed plus by 3. Okay, but in this graph, I actually spot three different interesting points. This point, which is what we call as maximum. This point, which is what we call as minimum. And one more thing, over here, we call this as inflection. Okay, I think it's very clear what is maximum and what is minimum. Okay, it's actually like shaping just like a frowning and a smiling curve. Okay, hence the name. But what is inflection? Now, inflection is actually like combination between smiling and frowning curve. Now, take a zoom at this location. Okay, at the very few parts over here, I can say that this is a resemblance of a smiling curve. But on the second half, this is a resemblance of a frowning curve. Yeah, so inflection is actually like the, you know, the facing, the interchange of smiling and frowning. Okay, yeah. But what do they have in common? What is maximum, minimum, and inflection actually have in common? Okay, and the answer is 1. The gradient at that location are 0. Every single point, okay, of these three, the gradient is momentarily 0. Okay, for a split second, the gradient of tangent to that curve at that location is 0. Okay, which means if you relate to the previous topic, gradient of tangent of the curve is actually dy dx. Okay, so what do they have in common? Well, the gradient at those three locations are 0. Okay, this is actually the main thing about it. Now, if you take a look at the y equals to 3x cubed minus by these things, if I differentiate this, okay, I'm going to get dy dx equals 15x power of 4 minus by 45x squared, okay, plus 0. Okay, I mean differentiate the 3 lah. Okay, now if we actually follow with the concept that I explained to you, that dy dx is actually 0 at these three locations, okay, I will actually just need to let it as 0 like this. Okay, I want to find those 3 points, so I just need to do this. Let's divide everything by 15. So then I got x power of 4 minus by 3x squared, and then I'll just factorize them like this. Okay, now just like the old school method of solving brackets, okay, I just need to split them. Let x squared equals 0 or x squared minus 3 equals 0. Solve them individually. Now, as you can see here, there are 3 answers. Okay, this actually depicts our points that I show you just now. The maximum, the minimum, and also the inflection. Okay, yeah, depicted in this picture. Now, I have one issue. let's just imagine that I have no time to graph this question. I mean, to be honest, this chapter is not about graphing. Okay, the graphing is almost non-existent in this chapter. I just draw this so that you have a clear visualization, okay, about the gradient being 0, the maximum, minimum, and inflection. Most of the time of this chapter, you only have this equation. You don't have any time to graph, not at all. Okay, and you differentiate it. Okay, you want to find the turning point, the gradient of 0. You got these three numbers, 0, root 3, and negative root 3. Then it raises a question: who is the maximum? Who is the minimum? And also who is the inflection? Mind also that not necessarily you will have everything. Okay, because I have no idea. If I take a look at 0, root 3, and negative root 3, what is the behavior of each of them? What is the nature of each of these? Okay, I only know that these points will give me the turning point, but I don't know whether it's a maximum, minimum, or inflection. Okay, and that is what we are actually going to find out. At these three locations, what is the behavior? Now, the first method that we are going to do is inflection, first derivative test. Okay, now it's very simple. The first derivative test, I just need to use these numbers. Okay, first derivative test, well, it's just like differentiated one time. Okay, first derivative, hence the name. Okay, after you differentiate it for the first time, okay, and then getting the three numbers that, you know, we got 0, root 3, and negative root 3, I'm going to make a few tables. First, I will use x equals 0, lesser than 0, greater than 0. Okay, now, optionally, right, you can actually just say that, oh, I want to put down x equals 0.1. Yeah, feel free to do that. Okay, also can. Then you just put here negative 0.1. Also can. But please don't put too far away from 0 itself. Okay, maybe like the furthest you can take is 1 unit. Okay, the best is just take 1 decimal point. Okay, yeah, there's a reason for that. Okay, but maybe I'll discuss later. Anyway, what I'm going to actually check with these three numbers is the behavior of the dy dx on each occasion. Okay, now dy dx is 0 when x equals 0. I mean, this is because x equals 0 is actually the turning point. Of course, the gradient will be 0. But what about 0.1? Well, just imagine this. You will let x equals 0.1 on the dy dx. That will be 15 multiplied by, well, this is going to be like a huge positive number. I mean small. Minus by this thing. Okay, and don't be shy. Use calculator to solve this. And if you use calculator, you're gonna get negative 0.448. It's a negative number. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, let x equals to negative 0.1. Okay, the result will be positive number. Okay, oh, wait, sorry, it's gonna be negative. I pressed wrongly. Okay, it's gonna be negative number. Now, what's the big deal about it? You see that dy dx actually represent the gradient. Okay, which also represent the shape, or that is the direction of the tangent at that location. Okay, so to speak, I can tell that when x equals 0, right, the gradient is 0, meaning to say that it's actually a flat horizontal line. Okay, whereas if the gradient is negative on these two occasions, okay, that means to say that the graph is actually sloping down. Okay, so if I have to draw the shape, it looks like this, going down, horizontal, going down. This is actually the shape of the curve. Therefore, it's what we call as inflection. Okay, hence at that location of x equals 0, I'm going to get inflection. Okay, yeah. Second, I will also try to using the square root 3. Okay, square root of 3 is somewhere around 1 point something. Okay, so maybe we try number greater than that 2 and number lesser than that 1. Okay, lesser than square root 3. And then let's try to use this number. Okay, notice that I use an integer to make it easier. Okay, but again, please don't put too far away from the number of square root 3. Yeah, this is gonna give you 0. If I let x equals 1, okay, I'll get dy dx as 15 minus 45. this is gonna be negative. Okay. Likewise, if I put a 2 here, this is gonna be a large number. Okay, you can try to use calculator. I got a positive number. Okay, so then what's the shape looks like? It's a sloping down, stop a little bit, horizontal, and then sloping up. It is therefore a minimum point. Okay, smiling curve, a minimum point. And finally, a negative root 3. Okay, slightly smaller than negative root 3 is negative 2. Slightly bigger than that is a negative 1. And again, check it one by one. Okay, you know the drill, just press calculator, sub into your dy dx. Okay, this time it will be positive, 0, and then negative. Okay, which means that the shape is going up, stop, and then going down. Okay, hence I got a maximum point for this occasion. And there you go. Okay, that's how you check for each of the value what kind of turning point they're going to get. What is the nature of each points. Alright. Next is the second derivative test. Okay, now I'm going to carry forward the dy dx that we got just now. I'm going to use it here. This time I'm going to differentiate for the second time. Hence the name, second derivative test. Okay, you're going to differentiate 2 times. I will put d2y over dx2. This is the symbol that you are doing it for the second time. So you're gonna get 60x power of 3 minus by 90 of x. Now what is this actually? Well, this is what I call as a tester. Tester for what? For the 3 points that you got just now. Okay, so try when x equals 0. Okay, what is your dy dx? Sorry, d square y over dx square. That will be 0 minus 0, 0. Try square root 3 and also negative square root 3. Okay, yeah, if you try this number, you're going to get positive number 100 something, whereas the final number is going to give you a negative number. Okay, now how do we conclude from here? Okay, whenever the result is positive, okay, after you input the number, right, that means to say that particular location actually give you a minimum point, not a maximum lah. Okay, positive actually means a minimum in this case. When you got a negative, that means you are having a maximum point. Alright, so that's how you actually conclude using the second derivative test. But when you get 0, right, does it mean that you got inflection? The answer is no. The answer is more like question mark. Is it a maximum, is it a minimum, or is it inflection? Okay, what I can tell you is this. The second derivative test actually fails when you have 0 when you do the test. Okay, when you have a 0, right, there is a possibility that it is an inflection, but it is still possibly a maximum or minimum. Okay, meaning to say that we cannot conclude. Okay, it's just ambiguous. Whenever you are doing your test and this actually comes out, that means to say you need to repeat the entire process and rewind into first derivative test. Okay, so I would say that first derivative test is actually quite easy, not easy actually, more like you don't need to work twice and it's guaranteed that you're gonna get the nature of the point. Okay, but there's a lot of works, there's a lot of substitution, there's a lot of table that you need to prepare. Second derivative test is more instant because you just need to differentiate and then you just need to sub in each of the number. But it has a weakness, like when you get 0, the test is inconclusive. And also, when the differentiation is terrible. You know that differentiation sometimes is just too much. Okay, too many fractions, too many trigonometry, exponential. Okay, in that kind of case, you may not want to do another differentiation because it just gets the things even worse. Okay, so yeah, whichever method you choose, it's up to you, as long as you got answers, of course. Okay, and of course, unless the question actually requests you to do whichever method they want. Alright, let's do this example here. A piece of a wire, length of 4 meters, cut into 3 sections as given in the picture here. The remaining is bent into x meter. Okay. Now 4 meter is actually the total length of the wire. I want to find a perimeter for each of them. The first circle, the perimeter is just a 2 pi r. Likewise for the second circle. Whereas the rectangle, oh no, it's actually a square. It should be a square, right? Yeah. 4x meter. So I can say that 4x plus by 2 pi r plus by 2 pi r, which is 4 pi r basically, equals to 4 meter. Divided by 4. I got this. Make the x the subject. Tada! Done. Okay. I assume that they asked me for an equation because they want to differentiate it. Okay, I mean classic. Yeah. But let's just hold that one for later. Maybe not. So the area of the combined section is this. Okay, the area of the circles are pi r square, and there are 2 of them. Whereas the area of the square is x power of 2. But you see here, the expression they actually ask you to show there is no x to be seen. It's just r and pi. Okay, this is maybe because we are using the part 1 to do substitution. So I will get this thing plus by 1 minus pi r bracket square. Alright, yes, so I just need to expand this. Oh wait, I don't need to expand this, right? I need to get that expression. Yeah, I need to expand it. That is a little bit too simple without expanding. Alright, so I got this figure. Okay, and then oh wait, I forgot to put a square here. Pi square r square. Alright, yeah, then I can see that they like to factorize the r square here. I can see there are 2 different r square, so I'm going to factorize them. I'll have 2 pi and then pi square, and then the rest I just put outside. Yeah, well, basically that's the answer. Okay, then next, find the value of r when a has stationary value. So remember, whenever they say stationary value, that means the differentiation of that said function equals to 0. Okay, I just need to differentiate the a. The a dr equals to, okay, I'm differentiating with respect to r because that's the only variable I have. So the first is just an r square. If I differentiate, I got 2r. I still multiply with the same constant number. I mean, it's ugly, yes, but it's still a constant number, so no big deal. Since it's stationary value, the differentiation you have to equate it to 0. Okay, let's divide everything by 2. So I got this thing, and I will move the number to the other side, so equals pi. And then to get the value of r, I just need to divide them. And voila, that's the answer. The value of r when the a is stationary. Next, determine whether the stationary value of a is maximum or minimum. Okay, since the expression of the dA dr is actually this, okay, and I see that this is actually easy to differentiate. Okay, remember, don't be distracted with the pi. Pi is just a constant number. You shouldn't pay too much attention on the pi. Okay, I differentiate this, so the 2r will become 2, multiplied by 2 pi plus pi square, minus by 0, or that is nothing to write. Okay, so this is our tester. Okay, I'm going to let r equals to this inside the d square a over dr square. But you see, wait a moment, this value of d square a over dr square has no r to input. It's just a constant number, you see, just 2 times by 2 pi plus pi square. There's no variable, there's no r. What does this mean? Well, if you actually calculate this, right, using calculator, you're gonna get some positive number. Okay? And you see, if our second derivative is positive, you are actually getting a minimum. Alright? Therefore, the value of r that you got just now, this value here, will be giving you a minimum point. Okay? A minimum value of a. Alright, so there is no need to do substitution, okay, because our value of the second derivative is just a pure constant number. Okay, no need to check. Okay, no need to check. You just instantaneously positive number, a minimum point. Whatever value of R that you got just now will be minimum. Okay, quite instant, I think. And I believe that's the last question for today. Alright, so I hope it's actually very clear for these chapters. Okay, I only give you one example for maxima minima, but basically it's not that difficult. It's just differentiate once or twice. Okay, maybe you just need to be careful in the story question, the show part. Okay, getting the area formula, everything like that. It's tend to be a bit more complicated. Okay, the differentiation is quite monotonous. What you need to do is quite simple. Okay, so yeah, I hope it's clear again. If you have any suggestion of what kind of video or lesson that you want to see and learn, you can let me know. Any feedback is also appreciated. Leave a comment below. Yeah, just leave a comment below if you have anything that you spot is wrong, or maybe you have some input. Alright, that's all for today's video. I'll see you again on the next video. Bye bye.